Welcome to Her Cancer, Our Story, a raw and honest podcast about facing stage 4 metastatic breast cancer as a couple. Welcome to episode 2. I'm Mike,
And I'm Kayla.
and we're happy to have you here. Episode 1 was really just a recap of Kayla's experience up to the diagnosis. And today we're going to continue that story and bring you up to speed where we are today on January 19th.
And also not just my experience, your experience as well.
Our experience, I guess, right? That's
Yes.
kind of the whole point of this. All right. So in episode 1, I mentioned that I'm going to start every episode with a question about what do we want to get out of this. But since this is really just a continuation, I think that still applies. So I'm going to switch it up today and have a different question.
And just so our listeners know, I have no idea what this question is going to be. I told him I don't want to know. Surprise me.
Yeah. And I will go back to those questions later on future episodes. But like I said, I don't want to bore you with the same thing for just a continuation. So we talked about finding the lump all the way up to the diagnosis. Is there a single moment in time between in that time frame that is kind of like etched into your brain? Like when you 10 years from now when someone brings up breast cancer, is there a moment that is like maybe it's the scariest moment of that time frame or just something, is there a moment that will always be with you and you'll always remember?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
It is, and you did not want to have any prep for this, so I'm gonna continue to talk for a little bit just to kill some quiet time.
I don't know that I can say one specific moment. I think when I think back on that time, I just picture myself in these appointments and just the fear
Yeah.
that I had. Um, and honestly, I also think back to when I was waking up every morning, like my heart was racing, I was sick to my stomach. The anxiety was so strong, and it's nothing I've ever felt before in my life. And it was just never ending. Like it was day after day after day. And
Yeah.
it literally getting through like one moment at a time and just not knowing like how to handle it. And like I said, I picture myself in the doctor's offices and just that fear that I had. And so I don't know that it's necessarily a moment in time, but it's just that overall feeling of
Okay.
just it's
Yeah.
just horrible.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's horrible.
You mentioned the anxiety, like waking up with that. Did you do anything to help with the anxiety? Because you're not a very anxious person in general, and this was you know, as an observer and partner, I've never seen you like that.
Yeah, I think I would have joked in the past that I was an anxious person. Yeah, well, hindsight,
Yeah.
nowhere
This is real
close.
anxiety, huh?
Yeah, no, I did. Immediately, like that week after finding the lump and getting the mammogram, and we didn't know anything, but I knew. Like
Hmm.
I said that before. I knew that it was something. I knew it wasn't going to be good, and I didn't know how mentally, emotionally, even physically I was going to get through the next several weeks of unknowns. We were also in December, so the holidays were coming up. We had two young kids. My work is very busy and stressful, and I knew I needed to feel some type of control. Anyone that knows me really well knows I like to have control over a lot of things.
Yep.
Uh, I admit it, openly admit it. Um, our friend, I'll give her a shout out, Emily. She is very similar to me in that way. And so she knows for sure what I'm talking about. But it just felt so out of control. So I told you and I told my mom that I was going to reach out to my regular doctor and see if there was something I could do. Actually, I reached out to both her and my gynecologist because I wasn't sure who could prescribe something, what it would be. Like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I reached out to both, and my gynecologist actually just prescribed me like a sleeping med, I think it was. And I was like, but didn't even call me. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I just didn't really feel comfortable with that.
That didn't feel very personal either
I
for
also didn't feel like it was a long-term solution.
yeah.
And nothing against the practice, nothing against that person. I really appreciated the support during that time. It just what it didn't feel good to me going that route. So I had a virtual appointment with my regular family doctor, who actually I just started going to it back in October because I was like, oh, I'm gonna start to be healthy again. Well, cancer kind of took that from me for a little bit there, but and she prescribed me Zoloft.
Yeah.
So there
So
was
like an
that.
anti-anxiety medicine.
Yeah.
Did you so did you have any hesitation for that? Because I thought you even before you had your appointment, like when we got home, you're like, I need to take some. I need something for this. It
I
didn't
had
seem like
no
you had.
hesitation.
Yeah, it
And
didn't
like
seem like a concern of yours.
back in October, I had talked to my doctor about how I'm not really a med taker, and she really talked to me a lot about it because she was like, I can prescribe you something to take like just when you need it, or I can prescribe something daily. And I was like, I feel like I need something daily at this point.
Yeah,
So I think I said it. I took Zoloft, started on a low dose, just 25 milligrams, and then a week later I was supposed to increase to 50 milligrams, which I did. But that experience was not great.
it was a little bit of a wild ride for you, just with your everything going on, and then the medicine. Like it took some time for your body to adjust, but I think overall it was a very positive thing for you, and it worked.
At this point now, yes, but in the moment, side effects of starting that med are like increased high anxiety and loss of appetite and those types of things which I was already
Yeah,
having. So I think it just spiraled further, which for several days, which was almost impossible to get through. And then like I finally had a good day, and then the next day was when I increased the dose, and then again for 3 days it was like horrendous.
yeah,
And thankfully, like the week of Christmas, it mellowed out, and I was able to get through that time feeling somewhat myself.
yeah. And we'll definitely talk more about the holidays during this episode and how that was like. All right, so we got your biopsy results. It's cancer, and it was kind of like the now what situation. So do you remember that day and when we got home and just kind of how that went? What happened after the biopsy?
Well, we didn't have the kids, right? My mom had them.
Hmm.
We obviously knew it wasn't good because I'd had the mammogram and ultrasound, and she said the words,
Yeah,
"Unless the biopsy proves
yeah.
otherwise, this is
So
cancer."
so this is specifically the appointment where we went and met with her, and she's like, "It's definitely cancer." Do
Oh,
you remember
okay,
that day?
sorry.
Yeah,
Not really.
yeah. I remember we went to
We went home.
we did we went to the park first. We went to Kiwanis because it
Oh,
was like the
yeah.
first sunny day in a while, and I thought like it was kind of a peaceful time. I mean, I think like we had an answer, I guess, even though you knew what it was, but the rest of the time it seems like a blur to me. I know it was kind of like, oh, okay, this is what you have. You need to go see these people and get into these hospitals, and you kind of had a choice of, okay, where
Two.
are we going to do this? I mean, I guess you had more choices, but there was like two top ones that you really,
Well, I think we knew right away we weren't going local. We
yeah.
wanted, some of the best, and so we basically had a choice between 2, but we chose the one, um, that had, you know, been recommended by our doctor's office that was doing all of the
Hmm.
things. Um, but it was still a waiting game of when we were going to hear from them.
Yeah, it was. You also talked to some people that you met throughout this time and through some of your teacher friends and everything, and you got some good recommendations and people had really good stories about some of their experiences. So, but it was kind of difficult, I think, to one we wanted things now and we wanted the first one available and everything. Um, but I think one thing I want to kind of circle around back is you kind of had somebody looking out for you behind the scenes that you didn't really know about at the time. I think there was a suspicion because like I said in episode 1, we got through some of the early steps pretty quickly.
Mhm. Um,
Do you wanna, I mean, I know we don't wanna, like, get too specific, but do you wanna kind of talk about what you can with that? And
yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely want to respect this person and, keep things as confidential as possible. Um, but I wouldn't feel right talking about this without mentioning that.
Mhm.
So I basically, the person who reaches out to schedule the test that I had done, and then also reaches out to whatever place you are going to seek the next steps. I recognized her name right away from several years ago at my old school. It was a parent of a student of mine, and like I said, I recognized her name. I did not expect her to recognize my name. My first name is spelled differently than most with the name Kayla, but still, I just
You had a different last name, I think, from.
no, I didn't. But I
Oh,
didn't
really? Okay,
anticipate.
I couldn't remember.
But I just didn't anticipate that she would recognize my name. And something the radiologist said when we met and talked about the biopsy results were that this person, um, you know, said that you were a close family friend and you needed to be taken care of. And basically, I believe everything had kind of been expedited because of that. So, from the scheduling of the mammogram and ultrasound all the way through the biopsy, I mean, they got me in that same day, and that is not typical
No, not
practice.
at all.
And I really think it had a significant amount, or whatever,
Mhm.
due to her. And she ended up calling me to schedule, with the hospital that we chose to go with, and just said that she submitted my records and asked them to see me as soon as possible. And I cried on the phone to her just because I really appreciated what she had to say. And she acknowledged that she did know me. And it was a really hard moment, but at the same time, like, my gratitude towards her cannot be overstated. Is that the right way to say that? Did I say that correctly? I don't even know.
I'm not questioning it. I think people should understand. And one thing I want to point out here is, everyone's experience with this process is going to be way different, and I think we truly understand that the waiting game is the hardest part, and people probably have waited longer than we did to get in certain steps, and we're saying this from a kind of a place of really being extremely lucky and everything, and we don't want to devalue anyone's feelings. Like, you can be frustrated at us for having this kind of a little bit of a bump there, I guess, with the expedited appointments. But I think it's something that speaks volumes to you and how you really touched this person through your work and made an impact on their lives. Um, I think it kind of came around, and hopefully it will be a huge benefit to us.
Absolutely, thank you. One other thing I did wanna touch on, uh, something that I kept going back to was, like, am I am not handling this well. Like, I am not doing well with this. I am not handling this well. My anxiety is so high. I'm fearing the worst every single moment of every single day. And I just was like, everybody else who's dealing with this must be handling this better than me. Like, I just, this is not, I am not okay. Um, but I did get some reassurance from different people and reading some different things that this period of unknown and the waiting between when you first find it till you actually have a plan, like a concrete plan of what to do, is the hardest part of it
Yeah,
all and the most anxiety inducing. And your mind, again, just spirals into these horrendous fears that you've never really thought that deeply about before. So just anybody listening who either is going through this currently or has a loved one that is going through this, I just, however you are handling it, like, you're doing the best you can. And it's a really awful situation. And I hate that anybody has to feel this way. I mean, I think I said this multiple times while I was going through it. And I mean, I still am. I would not wish that fear on my worst enemy. Like, I would never want anybody to go through feeling like that ever. Even again, the worst person would not want that on them.
yeah, definitely. And as the person who was closest to you during that time, from the outside, you were handling it very well. I
Mm.
mean, it was amazing. I was not. I stayed in bed many days while you went to work. You're the one with cancer. and I called off work and just laid in bed and like I didn't know what to do. So
Well, I mean, we've talked several times that we definitely both handle things differently. And I think that's just what you needed in that moment. And I needed to try to get through each day in one way, shape, or form. So
yeah. All right. So we chose our hospital, and but now we had our longest wait. It was it felt when they told us the date we can get in, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's months away." It was what, 3 weeks?
I think just over 3 weeks. But I mean, I remember multiple times like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like,
Yes.
I have no idea how I'm going to get through each and every single day.
So the time frame is, this it's the holidays now. Like we're coming up on the holidays. We have to go through the holidays. We both of us are from not the area that we live in currently. All of our families live elsewhere. So we had a pretty big thing to deal with 2 kids too, to
Hmm.
make sure that their Christmas was awesome.
Hmm.
So I mean, I guess, like, what do you wanna talk about as far as the holidays go? Like, do you wanna I don't know if we need to kinda go through the whole timeline of everything, but how did you deal with that?
I think I would definitely say that the medicine had kicked in and the side effects had calmed down. But like Christmas Day was hard.
Mhm.
It was amazing. Our kids were great. They had a wonderful day. We spent all day at home. My mom was in town. Um, but I'm not gonna lie, I cried a couple different times. Like it was hard emotionally because when you're fearing the worst, of course you're thinking like, how many more of these do I have?
Yeah.
Um, and our kids are young, they're 8 and 3, and it just puts things into perspective that sure, there's moments where you might think, oh, like, you know, what if something happens to me or whatever? But like when you're actively going through something where something could happen to you, that fear is just magnified. And so Christmas Day was tough, but I learned a lot early on that if I vocalize what my fears were out loud to somebody, and unfortunately that would often be you or my mom, because I shared some really dark, scary things with you both.
Yeah.
But that helped me not feel like I was trapped in my own head, and because otherwise it got worse. And I also learned that if I just let it out and cried, I would have another good hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Mornings were the absolute hardest for me. I would still think
Mm.
they kind of are. They've
Yeah,
been
you
better on
mentioned
and
that.
off, but mornings were the hardest, and then as the day went on, it got better. So if I could just get through the morning and like early afternoon, I knew there would be some relief later on in the day. So again, like Christmas, it did get better as we went on, and then we were so busy packing and playing with the kids and doing all the things. So it was a good day. But then kind of going into like our travels, and I want to hear your perspective too, but I think traveling honestly was probably the best thing we could have done.
100%.
I think being with our family, being somewhere else, away from home, almost was kind of like a mini vacation from it. Even though, yes, it was still heavy on our minds, we were distracted. We had help with the boys. We were just able to kind of live life normally for a little bit. Um, but how did you feel through all of that?
I think it was the same experience for me. Like, Christmas Day was very hard because we were by ourselves. I mean, your mom was here, but it was just us and your mom, and, that's kinda, yeah, like, it was moments of pure enjoyment with the kids to, like, holy hell, is this the last Christmas we have as a family? And I think you're right that vocalizing that, like, we had to, like, we both did, like, broke down at certain
Hmm.
points and just kind of like said, oh my, like, but you blubbered our way through saying something extremely terrifying, but it does feel better to say, because otherwise you're just, it is, I can't explain it, and I'm not very good with my words, but it just feels so heavy
Hmm.
on your heart. I don't know where, but just it just drowns you,
Hmm.
and then you say it, and you get a short reprieve from that awful feeling for a little bit.
Yeah, and I think also knowing that you're not the only one thinking those things and with those fears. Again, it's terrible, but it helps not feeling like you're so alone. Um, and again, anybody out there going through this or has family going through this, like I think just acknowledging that you're gonna feel horrible and you're gonna feel sad and scared. Um, But, one of our family members actually did, reach out to me at one point before Christmas and was like, it's okay to feel two things at once. So you can
Mm,
be happy and filled with joy because it's the holidays, and you can also be sad and mad and scared, or whatever the bad feelings are. It's okay to do both. And I really appreciated her reaching out and sharing that. That was definitely very helpful, and it's still something I need to remind myself of frequently. But just that acknowledgement, like, it's okay to feel both of those things. And I think just reminding yourself of that and reminding others of that too. Like, I needed to share that with you as well. Like, it's okay that we're angry, and it's okay that we're sad, but it's also okay to enjoy right now.
yeah, yeah. I think that was great advice. All right. Anything else with the holidays?
Um,
My birthday was also in there. I think we should all be aware
I
of that.
know.
It was probably not my favorite birthday.
No, that was the worst. I felt horrible, but shout out to my best friend from home,
Yes.
because we were talking and I was like, "I feel horrible. I haven't done anything. Like, I don't even know how I'm supposed to function right now." And she had cake and balloons and decorations and plates and candles sent to our house, and just I love her, and shout out to her. She's the best.
Yeah. I think she did send the wrong candles. I think she made me 43 instead of 42 or something. Maybe 41. She made me 41, which is better. So shout out for keeping me younger.
Yeah, good job.
All right. So the holidays, we got through and we had a good time. And then we come home and we had a few days the next appointment. So I think we were kind of like both excited about this. Not excited, but like it was something to look forward to. It was like maybe we can get real answers. We're gonna meet, the person we thought we were gonna be working with the most at this time. Um, so what do you want to explain like what you thought this appointment was going to be and or what it what the intentions of it were?
Yeah, and I guess, like, I really didn't know.
Okay, I
Um,
guess I didn't know either, but I think
but for the sake of, like, kind of explaining to the people listening, it was with a breast oncology surgeon. So I think generally that's who you meet with first before an oncologist, especially if, I have it in my breast, obviously, but I also have it most likely in at least two of my axillary lymph nodes, and potentially more than that. So my first step was to meet with her. So that's who this appointment was with. And just kind of for reference, like, we did choose to go to a major city. It's about an hour and 20 minutes without traffic from our house. So just kind of putting it into perspective, like, that's something that we're going to have to do on a regular basis. Um, but I expected at that appointment, obviously, to review my history, review the scan, or not scans, but review the mammogram, ultrasound, biopsy results, and maybe have somewhat of a plan for what next steps might be.
yeah. Um, so this was was it a Tuesday or what? When was that? I'm trying to think of the
It was a
date. It was
Thursday.
a Thursday. Okay. So we drive down there and
I
I
was
want
okay on the drive.
yeah, you were great on the drive, but I want to talk about the parking garage, being in the car, and I are you okay going back to that time? And this is like when I really saw the most fear out of you outside of like those dark moments alone.
Was it the parking garage, or was it in the waiting room?
It
Maybe
was
I blacked out the parking
in the
garage.
parking garage.
Talk about
Yeah.
what happened, because I might have
Okay.
blacked it out.
This was what you were like, I don't want to get out. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to do this.
I think I blacked out because I
Yeah,
don't remember
yeah.
that.
You were getting antsy. You're probably. I'm guessing you didn't say it, but I'm guessing you were feeling like you did the day you found the lump. Like you're probably hot and just sweaty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it was like a little moment of panic, and I think we just got like we were there super early and like let's just go. I can't sit in here right now.
Okay, I do remember that, because then I walked really fast to try to find a bathroom,
Yes, yeah.
and you were not appreciative of how fast I was walking.
I didn't say anything, did I?
You didn't. You were like, "Why are you walking
Okay,
so
all right.
fast?"
I mean, you're
And
also
I
a
was on
fast
a
walker.
mission.
You were. Um, so we get there and we go to this waiting room, and this is like again, like feelings are starting to come. Like there's a lot of emotion now. I think,
Mhm.
and one thing I do want to talk about is the freaking paperwork in
Okay.
question. Like, so how much paperwork did you fill out
I filled out a
beforehand?
full survey, patient information, all the family history questions. I mean, 15 minutes of paperwork online
Yeah.
on my portal.
And this isn't a like a regular checkup you're going in to like see the doctor. This is going in knowing you have breast cancer, very scared, and so you fill all that out, and we get there, and they basically hand all the same freaking paperwork back to you.
Yeah. And I was like, "Are you
And
what
they
like,
ask like
are you kidding
like
me?"
family history questions and all this stuff, and I'm looking over your shoulder, and I'm trying not to say anything because I don't want to make you more frustrated. But it was like, holy shit, what are we doing? So we you
I
feel
was losing my
I
mind.
know you feel if I could write better than a fifth grader, I would have filled it out for you.
Well, and then I had to do the survey on the iPad about our
Yeah,
family history, and, like, answering the questions about my mom and my aunt sent me over the edge.
but these were questions you answered on the
I
hard
know.
copies
I had
too.
answered all of them.
I was like, why are they making us do this right now? I felt
It
so
was not
bad.
great. Thank God that waiting room was empty because I really don't know.
It was
I
empty at that
I
time.
couldn't handle it.
But what was really sweet is the receptionist, like, obviously
Well
heard you crying or
well,
saw
no,
it.
so I turned everything back in,
Yeah.
and then I lost it, and I think I said to you, "I cannot do this."
Yeah, yeah, you did
And
say
I
it in
was
there. Yeah,
crying, and I just felt like, "Get me out of here. I can't do this. How am I going to do this?"
yeah.
And then yeah, go ahead.
And then she brought over like tissues and a little care package that I guess someone had donated
Yeah,
the
and I
previous
think she
patient.
said, like, "You can do this or you're gonna be okay,"
Yeah.
or I forget exactly, but it was very sweet.
It was like the first like human moment we've
Yeah,
had, like at that point, like especially for the appointment and just like other ones, like all the reception, everybody's been super nice, but
absolutely.
this was like a very low moment, and I think it was really nice that someone saw that and recognized it and stepped up and did something.
Yeah, but we still had to wait for a little while.
We waited a while. First, we were early,
And
and
it
then
wasn't their fault. I mean, they
no,
apologized and they
yeah. So the
kept us up
surgeon
to
was in
date.
surgery that went long or something. So, but yeah, we were also there early, which didn't help. But at one point, you get called back to do like some baseline stuff. I think I don't. I'll let you explain is what happened with that. But I want to tell a story about why I was in the waiting room at this time. So you're gone, and this old couple walks in, and they're sitting there. And she's
I don't know this story, by the way.
yeah, yeah. So you're filling out like she's filling out all the paperwork, and this old guy's sitting next to her. Like they're a very cute couple, and but I'm also kind of like losing my mind right now. I'm trying not to stare at them, but I'm a people watcher, and it's a pretty small waiting room, so I could hear what they're talking about. And at one point, this old guy, he's kind of scrolling on his phone, and he just I hear him say to his wife, he's like, "Is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything that you need?" And then he goes, "That I can provide for you,"
Aw.
which I think was really nice. But I think it also says a lot because it's acknowledging I can't fix this.
Mhm.
I can't really make you feel better. I can't fill the paperwork out for you probably, but what can I do for you that I can provide? I think that's just like that was really sweet, but I think it's also something for the support people out there to think about cuz you're not going to be able to provide a lot of times and you can't do the one thing you want to do is get rid of this. But so keep that in mind that you can provide what you can. No, that was just a really sweet moment.
Oh my. Let me just say too, my husband is not a crier. He doesn't I think he's cried on our wedding day and he's cried when both of our children have been born and up until December 7th, that was probably it. Um so I think this just goes to show like how vulnerable he is letting himself be and also how vulnerable he is being in front of me too, which has been super helpful in this. Are there times that I need him to be strong and fight insurance, which we'll get into at one point, and do all of those things? Yes. But even though it sucks to know he's terrified and scared and all the things, it is helpful to know like I'm not alone in those feelings. So thank you for being honest and telling, that I know that was a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to share that because I think it's a sweet story in general. Because but I do think the message is good.
I
I think it's
agree.
something that we need to hang on to and remember as you're supporting someone through something. Like you can support in the way that you can, and it doesn't like sometimes that's doing the small things. Sometimes it's not being an asshole when you're normally an asshole at times, and
You had to
letting
work
things
on
go.
that this weekend.
No,
Just
okay. We had a little bit of an argument literally right before this, but we don't need to get into that here.
one funny thing I do want to say. My goodness, when you get diagnosed with something like this at 36 years old, everybody in these waiting rooms is ancient compared to you. Um, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but uh, it's also it adds to the vulnerability because everybody looks at you differently when you're 36 walking into a waiting room full of older people. And I'm sure they are all wondering, why is she here? What is she going through? Um, so that has been an interesting thing for me, I think, too.
Oh yeah, like even being in the waiting room myself, it's like people are like I don't. I imagine they're like, oh, I feel so bad, like for him and his way. I don't know, but yeah, it's very weird feeling like the youngest person there, and it's like we don't belong here,
Oh yeah,
you know.
definitely,
But
definitely.
nobody does.
No, and nobody should have to go through this. Doesn't matter how old they are. It's all awful. So, yeah, I get called back. Let's kind of get back on track here. And you stay back. I go in, and basically what they ask me to do is like get height, weight, whatever, and I have to do a lymphedema test. So, for those of you who might not be familiar with what lymphedema is, I don't know a whole lot about it. I know a little just because of my family history, but basically when you have lymph nodes that are involved with breast cancer, and if you have to get them removed, you have a much higher chance of getting lymphedema, which is basically like fluid, I think. Again, sorry for any of you who are medical providers, and I might not be saying this correctly, but like swelling, things like that. So before treatment and all of those things, they do a baseline to see if you have any issues with it, and you get like a number, and it tells you all kinds of crazy stats, which is interesting, like about your weight and everything. And you like put your hands and your feet on these metal plates, and that's how they do it. And it's actually really cool. But yeah, that's what that was.
Okay.
So now we have that number moving forward. So when I have to get lymph nodes removed, we'll know what's going on.
Okay. All right. So then we get called back. We meet the surgeon. This appointment, like the actual appointment, I don't want to say it was a blur, but it was just kind of like it was like felt very normal, like everything else. Like at first, like she kind of did. They had a student. She had a student with her, but they did like another exam. They kind of felt
Hmm.
things around, and they did the ultrasound
Well,
again.
before that, they went over like family
A little
history
bit, yeah. You're right.
and all of that, and we talked about everything. I did have some weight loss due to the anxiety meds gave me a horrible appetite for about 2 weeks. Plus, I think just my general anxiety anyway. So I did lose about 10 pounds or so. And so obviously when you have a cancer diagnosis like that is concerning because it
Hmm.
could mean other things are going on in your body. But it did not start until I started those meds. And then my appetite had increased and I had gained some of it back. So I just kind of cleared that up with her and we talked about those types of things. So
Yeah. Do you want to talk about really like? I mean, uh, like the exam was just kind of like typical stuff. Like she did a little bit more feeling around. She kind of felt up in your clavicle a little bit, but I
mhm.
don't know if it's much discussion worthy stuff there.
No, I mean, I think it was just another reminder that this could be progressing more than we'd like it to.
Yeah.
It's never a good thing to have
What what
swollen supraclavicular lymph nodes.
what was going through your head as like she's kind of like feeling around? Like I know at one point she was like showing the med student to like really push down and on some of like the areas near your clavicle and everything and on your ribs.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think there's question because of where the one lump is on my right breast, that whether it's a fixed location or not. And in the grand scheme of it all, it doesn't really matter. But when you're getting into like the nitty gritty of potential surgery and things like that, it is better if it's not fixed, I think. Like that's a more
Yeah.
a positive, I guess. So she was showing her student like if I like push in at my ribs, like what happen or like at my waist, what would happen, and then because at one point it looks fixed, but when I do that, then it's not. You can move it
Yeah.
around. And same thing, I think with my like they were just pushing around my lymph
Okay.
nodes and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I
Just
was just,
kind of
I guess, hopeful that I would get some indication that she wasn't concerned they were malignant, but I didn't really get that.
yeah. Did it feel weird, like as they're kind of talking to each other, like you're not there? Or
A little bit.
I thought it was weird, but like it's
Yeah.
like I know she's teaching someone, but it just felt like like someone's talking about you while you're in the room. And it was
Yeah.
weird, but
And I mean, they were both very
yeah.
nice.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I think I know I do it, like, as a teacher, when I'm talking with parents sometimes, I get into the acronyms and I get into, like, you almost sometimes forget that the person you're talking to is a real person and they don't know all the things and they're terrified. So
Yeah.
you just have to, I think, kinda take a step back when you've been doing it for so long and remind yourself of, like, why you're there.
Yeah. So then we go back and we sit down again. And I think this is where kind of, for me, this is where things got scary again.
Yeah, I mean, I I am the type of person, I have to prepare myself for everything. Which meant preparing myself for all possible stages and all possible things. And I don't know that you know, gone into as far of a rabbit hole as I have probably with those things. So
I've gone to dark places, but I don't think there were like I didn't know the specifics of things yet. And she said something when we get to there that was like the
yeah,
really scary thing for me.
I mean, everybody tells you stay off Google and I would try, and I've definitely gotten a lot better at that because I'm learning that that isn't helpful for me. But in the dark, dark moments when I couldn't sleep and I was waking up at 3, 4 a.m. and I just, couldn't help myself. Of course, I found some things that, aren't the best.
Yeah. So whenever she was talking to us about like the staging, obviously we don't know that stuff yet at this appointment, but she's kind of going over like potential, I guess, treatments
Mhm.
based off of the staging.
Mhm.
And the one thing that really scared me when she was talking about like stage 4, because
Mhm.
you hear about stage 4 and it doesn't like it's bad, like but it's like, oh, you don't treat to cure, you just kind of it just seemed like, oh, okay, you have stage 4, we're just going to manage symptoms, it sounded like. And it just felt very scary, like they're giving up almost.
Yeah, and I think I have a different perspective. I mean, obviously, it's horrifying to me, and I am hoping with everything I have that it's not stage 4. Just a reminder, we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
We're gonna find out this week. But with my own research and also I listen to a running podcast, and she happens to have breast cancer and then was cancer free and then the cancer metastasized. I guess there was a tiny piece left and she has stage 4 actively right now. So I think I know more about it than I would have if I didn't listen to her podcast and everything. So I think I'm living in the world of it's either stage 3 or it's stage 4,
Yeah.
which
That's scary.
sucks. But
And what's, I think, her, like, our surgeon's tone was she's concerned
she
about
is.
some of the lymph nodes up higher, and that really put a lot of fear into us.
Yeah, and I mean the lymph nodes up higher doesn't necessarily mean stage 4, but it's a step closer to that.
Yeah, and anything
So,
closer is scary
yeah.
right now. And
Mhm.
I think before this appointment, the thoughts were for me, okay, my wife has cancer. She's gonna go through chemo. She's gonna lose her hair. She's gonna have a mastectomy, and then she'll be back.
Mhm.
And that's all. That's very scary, and it's gonna be very hard. And then this thought now is creeping into my head of we might not even get that. Like that the scariest part of it might be like the best case scenario right now.
Oh, yeah, like, right now, it's like, "Please throw the chemo, throw the surgery, throw the
Yeah,
radiation at me," like, I want that. Because, basically kind of what she talked about, and obviously my oncologist is ultimately who will dictate my treatment plan regardless of whether it's stage 3 or stage 4, but if it has not metastasized to a more distant area. So collarbone area is still called, I think it's locally or regionally advanced. I can't remember the exact specifics, but that's still not considered stage 4. So stage 3 treatment would be chemotherapy first to shrink everything down. So shrink my lymph nodes, shrink the tumors, and the hope obviously is that you have a really complete pathologic response or whatever I think it's called, and basically that the chemo is working. And then after that, they do surgery, which the surgeon basically said it'll definitely be at least a single mastectomy.
Hmm.
Um, Working on genetic testing right now, obviously, that will kind of dictate if other surgical options are on the table. But we won't know that for a little while, which is fine because surgery would be after chemo anyway. But she said most likely 5 months of chemotherapy, surgery, um, a significant amount of radiation to kill anything left over. And then I would need to be on 10 years of hormone therapy, because mine is ER/PR positive, so hormone positive, which will then put me into, um, oh my gosh, what's that word?
Menopause.
Thank you. Um, so I would go into menopause at 36. Pretty much. Because that's the best chance of it not reoccurring
Yeah.
is it because my cancer feeds off of my hormones, which is why I had to get my IUD removed immediately when we found out the biopsy
Oh yeah, we
results.
skipped that part,
I
didn't we?
know,
Yeah.
yeah. So I immediately when I got the
Yeah.
biopsy results, I forgot we went upstairs and I got my IUD taken out.
Yeah.
I was numb at that point. Like I don't even know. I just was walking through the
So,
hallway.
not to be TMI or anything here, but I know at one point he's like, the doctor's doing that, and he's like suggesting like other options of birth control. And I just remember him thinking, buddy, do you think I give a shit about that right now? Like, that's not something we're going to be worried about. Is like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but you don't want
Yeah,
to get pregnant when you have cancer
exactly.
if you can
Yeah.
help it.
Yeah. So, but I just like in my head, I'm like, what? No way we're worried about that right now. But
So, yeah. So going back, that basically will be my treatment plan. A rough idea if
yeah,
it's stage 3 or better. Maybe my collarbone nodes are fine. I'm just gonna keep hoping for that. Um, so then the other option is if it's stage 4, like Mike talked about, it's looking for quality of life. It is looking for treat treating but not curing, which can look like a lot of different things, and we don't know what that is yet. I hope I don't have to find out, but we'll
definitely.
get to that point if we need to.
Yeah.
Because there's still, I do want to say, um, people are living a lot longer, like years and years and years with
Yeah.
that diagnosis. So it's terrifying. I'm not going to handle it well if that's the case. I'm not going to process it well. And I think, we'll come back on here and be honest about what that looks like at some point if that's the case. But it's just something that we have to get through.
Exactly. So I remember after this appointment, then she's telling us this news, and it's kind of like, whoa, it's really hitting hard. And then they're just throwing us a lot of like, this is what you need to schedule next. You need to call this department, do this, go here, do that. And we're trying to write everything down. They're handing us papers, and then they say, okay, bye, basically. And it's like, oh, what do we need to do? And like, you just schedule an MRI, schedule a PET scan. And I'll be honest, this is the first time that I wasn't thrilled with like the level of service I think that I was expecting,
Mhm.
because in my head, they would have scheduled some of these since it's all in that hospital, and or
Yeah.
had more guidance, I guess. But it was really just kind of dumped on us after some pretty shitty news to do this, and I remember we're kind of like our heads were spinning for a little while.
Yeah, because the office where we met with the breast oncology surgeon was able to schedule the PET scan, I believe. But we had to go somewhere else to schedule the MRI. Like, we had to go, like, across the hall
Yeah,
or something. So, yeah, that was, like, a tricky, weird thing, to navigate, and I was in not a good place, at that moment, and I also knew I had to call genetic testing, and it just was, like, the
well,
beginning
there was a
of.
lot of confusion of like, what do we, because we you did think when we left there that they would schedule and call the
Yeah,
PET
that's
scan,
true.
and I went while you were in the MRI office getting that scheduled, I walked over and I asked him specifically, "Do we need to call to get this scheduled?" And she said, "Oh yes, absolutely."
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
So that
I forgot that
you're so
office
confused
scheduled.
over it.
I know. There's too many appointments, too many things. Thank goodness for my chart. Like for seriously, I don't
Yeah,
know how I would keep any of it straight. But yeah, no, they scheduled my a follow-up with my surgeon 3 months later.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So that
no,
was it.
we
Yeah,
still had to take care of the MRI and the PET scan.
yeah, and it's like it's fine if we had to do that, which we did, but it just would have been it was not clear, and
No.
having to kind of go back and get confirmation at times was not something we wanted to do at the moment. But we did, and it was a pretty crappy drive home because you were trying to call to get
Mhm.
the PET scan scheduled. Because that's kind of like the big piece of all this. That's gonna tell us a lot. And we called, we got a date that we weren't thrilled with, so we called another place because you can't call around, and we got one earlier. And I'll kind of let you take it over from there as far as what we did with that and what that led to.
Um yeah, so I was able to schedule my MRI on a Tuesday last week. We got an earlier PET scan on Thursday last week, which would have been the 15th. But I kept my 20th appointment because I was like, well, I don't want to, just in case.
In case one got canceled for some reason,
Yeah. And
whoever
I
that.
also, my insurance needs prior authorization.
Yeah,
So in case something happened with that, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't missing out on anything.
yeah.
Um, and then there were some insurance issues. I'm like, it's all kind of running together now.
Okay,
Go
yeah,
ahead. You take over.
yeah. So we got two. We basically got two PET scans scheduled, and we're gonna just cancel one. And then your oncology appointment wasn't scheduled until the 21st. So you decided to just hold off. You didn't want to have the one done on the 15th because then those results are just going to be sitting in your chart, and you didn't want to. You
No,
didn't
you're
want the
right.
risk of looking at that.
My anxiety would not be able to
Yes.
handle it.
So we canceled that one. We called, canceled it. You got confirmation it was canceled, and you were just going to do the one on the 20th. But then on the way home from the MRI, you get a voicemail that authorization was denied for the PET scan,
Yes.
or we didn't even know what it was. It just said it's denied for a service. You can find it in. We'll mail you the denial letter, and then you can call the number on there. It's like this is next week. We need to know what's going on.
Yeah, so it was a week later, basically, like, from the MRI, and I called and I was like, what is happening?" And the lady said, "Well, our team or the team that they use to determine what's medically necessary basically said, 'You don't need an MRI and a PET scan.'" She's like, "Have you, like, been diagnosed with cancer or something?" And I was like, "Yes,
Yeah,
actually, I have. I have invasive ductal carcinoma, and they're afraid it could have metastasized to another part of my body and would be stage 4." And immediately she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry."
yeah, and
And she felt terrible, and she's like, "I will get this taken care of for you." So that was, I mean, a pleasant experience.
yeah. And
And
then
then
you called again last Friday, a couple of days ago, just to confirm, and it kind of was wishy washy, but they ultimately just said yes, you're good. And then you got another. You finally got the email.
I got the denial letter.
Yeah, the denial letter, and it's like we were we had an idea of what it was for, but we just wanted to make sure. So yesterday was a Saturday. You called and you spoke to a representative from your insurance company, and they really couldn't answer anything. They're like, "Oh, yeah, sure. There's a denial letter. We don't know. Here, call this other number of another company that we use to make these determinations," which is a whole different can of worms that I do not like.
No, you were not happy with that response at
No,
all.
no, and they're like, they're closed for the weekend, so you can call them on Monday, and the scan is scheduled for Tuesday. So we're kind of like, okay, and then I, we're sitting there for a couple minutes, and I was like, I'm not. No, we're calling again, and we're gonna keep pushing on this. And that call went a lot better. First, the person we spoke with was seemed to not be so upset to be working on a Saturday. They listened, and I mean, but they still couldn't figure anything out. They're like, "Oh yeah, we see a lot of conflicting stuff here."
But she said, I mean, she kept reassuring us that we were going to figure it out, which I
Yeah,
think helped.
but but even then, it's like, kind of like, "Oh, we're still not sure. Like, you might not have coverage for this." And the reason why you need prior authorizations for PET scans because they're so freaking expensive. And I mean, I'm guessing it would cripple us if we had to pay that out of pocket.
Yeah, but it's
Something we don't.
also it's medically necessary to
Right?
determine
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
treatment. Like
Absolutely.
that's why I mean, I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
have another option.
So while she is like, I'm gonna call the elevation team. I don't know who that is. I don't know.
Escalation team.
Escalation team. Thank you. And while we're on hold, Kayla gets an email, and we do find another approval letter dated after that, which was actually the day before. So we had approval for it, and but even when we told that to her, she couldn't find it in the system until we gave her the specific numbers. And but basically, what I think happened is we had those two appointments scheduled. They both submitted for the approvals
Mhm.
for the
Prior
service,
authorization, yeah.
and luckily the hospital that we're going to was probably the first one, and that got approved. And then the second one that we tried to get into, they were denied because they're like, no, you don't need two PET scans. Which sure, but this was just something that
Hot
is
mess.
you did not.
45 minutes wasted. Actually, an hour because I was on the phone with them for 15 minutes the day before.
Yeah, and it was just like another reminder of what it's going to be like probably. And
Well, and thankfully, we had family in town because
yeah,
we spent an hour or 45 minutes, whatever it was, up in our closet because
yeah,
our kids don't know what's going on yet, trying
yeah,
to figure this all out. And luckily, like they were able to, be fine with other people. But it's just so frustrating when you're like going through this major life crisis and people are just giving you a hard time left and right.
yeah,
And you have to advocate for yourself. And I think I've learned this over the last several weeks. Like I'm typically not great at advocating for myself, but I think I'm gaining some courage and some strength in doing that. But it's also okay to like fall back on your person to advocate for you. And I know Mike, obviously, I mean, he'll be the bad guy when he needs to be. Um, that's generally kind of how we work with like outlier type situations. um, but also, you can rely on other people too. Like I know my family has said, like, they will help me do those things if we need it, like calling
yeah,
insurance and doing those things and having those tough conversations because it's hard emotionally right now, but I know once I'm in the thick of it all, like physically, emotionally, mentally just exhausted, like I'm going to need that support.
yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's just going to get worse as more stuff gets scheduled and you're feeling worse. But we got it worked out. So you had a couple. Yeah, I guess you had a couple appointments last week. We kind of glazed over that. I guess you had the MRI, and then you did
Yeah.
genetic testing.
Just some highlights like the MRI. I'd never had one before.
Oh yeah,
For a
that's
breast
right. Yeah.
MRI, you're face down. So that wasn't as bad. I did a really quick glance at the tube that I was going to be put in. I was like, "Oh, don't look there again because it's tight
Oh, I
and
forgot to show
I
you the
am
video. There's
claustrophobic."
a video online of what an MRI machine looks like without the cover on.
Yeah, no
Oh
thanks.
man, it's
Can we
scary.
wait till after like the PET
Absolutely,
scan
yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, and if you're gonna have an MRI scheduled soon, don't do that.
Yeah. So I did get a prescription sedative for that. I don't know that I really felt it. I do think it helped me calm down a little bit, but
You
I
didn't
don't
seem
know.
any different.
I was acting fine. But I got to listen to music and Taylor Swift's Opalite came on and that was a fun one.
Yeah,
But then when that machine is clanking around, like it drowns the music out. So I don't know.
yeah,
But it was only about 20 minutes. And then, so that was Tuesday. And then I had my genetic counseling appointment, and that was interesting. My family history is significant for all kinds of different cancers. A lot of them are affecting older people, later in life, but we do have a couple random sporadic younger cancers. I think I touched on it a little bit in our first episode, but my mom was diagnosed at 54. My aunt was diagnosed at 46 with breast cancer. So, of course, they went through genetic testing. Their results were negative for the BRCA genes and also like the more commonly tested breast cancer gene mutations. But I chose to go with the extended panel, basically looking at most of the genes just to make sure we're not missing anything because that will dictate treatment eventually as well and also just help, yes, we have boys, but breast cancer is still a thing. My family does, both my mom and my aunt do have the mitf mutation, which is like melanoma. So that is something I want to know if I have at this point, for something else to watch out for. And yeah.
yeah. It's kind of scary knowing how much I married into cancer.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great, especially when you look up like the tree of
Yeah, when
people.
you were going through some of like talking about it, it's like, oh my gosh, how, like there's so many names.
It's not great.
No.
But, my mom's here, my aunt's
Yep.
here,
Exactly.
so,
All right. So this is where we are today. It's what is it? January 19th. I said 18th.
18th, and our big scan and big appointment are this week.
Yeah. So what? We'll kind of wrap things up here. And again, thanks everyone for joining us for these first two episodes. Every episode after this isn't going to be just recaps of everything, but we wanted to kind of one get everybody who's listening caught up to where we are and kind of share that experience. And we're planning some more specific episodes about support systems for going through this, some of our experiences, just hopefully some more interesting things. And it's not just going to be updates, but we'll definitely provide updates as we go, as we can, as we and honestly as we're willing to share too.
Yeah, because I mean, we are sharing a lot and we're being vulnerable, but we're not sharing everything, because we want to protect our family dynamic, our kids, and our supporters as well. So,
Yeah, definitely. What's one thing you're looking forward to this week?
getting some answers
Getting some answers.
and getting started to get rid of this thing
Yes.
because it feels, I don't know how to describe it. Like having something that's like actively growing and trying to kill you in your body is just not a fun thing to be
Yeah.
walking around with every day.
I don't want to ask this question, but have you thought about prepared for not the best answers?
Um, I I'm not gonna lie, I've thought, you know, I've kind of like pictured driving down there and I've pictured walking into that office and I'm like pictured, okay, what is her face going to look like? Is her face going to give away anything? How is she going to present the information? Um and it's scary to think about, and that is you know,
Yeah.
I'm most likely going to have those portal results in or those test results in my portal, the day of testing, and so that's kind of or the scan, whatever.
Right.
Um, so that's gonna it's like something that's hard, I think, to have too, because I'm the type that wants to prepare for everything. So knowing they're there and trying not to look at them and maybe not preparing myself for the news I could get is, I don't know. It's hard to wrap my brain around.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm terrified. I'm in the same boat. Like, what are we gonna be able to sense when we're in there? And I think what I'm struggling with is preparing for the like exciting news and be like, I'm like, there's a part of my brain that's just wants to like go to that drive home, like kind of excited. Like, I mean, it's excited as you can be to find out, hey, you're gonna have to go through chemo and all this other crap, but
Mhm.
like, you know, that there's a fighting chance for cure.
Mhm.
But I'm not letting myself get too far down the road with that because I'm really fucking scared.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of hope, but of course there's that part of me that's like, well, what if it's not?
Yeah.
Then what? Um I'm trying to enjoy this weekend, so I'm trying not to let myself think about it too much, and so far I've been fairly successful, but I know, each day as we get closer to Wednesday, that's gonna get harder.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be very hard. But all right,
But regardless of what it is, I'm gonna be around for a while, so,
you better be.
yeah.
I think I said this early on. I said, you know, we've been married for what is it now? It's go
It'll
2014. It's
be
going to be 10, 12
it'll be
years.
12
11 years.
11 years in June.
We have two kids, two young kids. Our sometimes our patience with each other gets a little thin. And I remember saying, I don't know if you're remembering this now as I say it, but I was like, even when we were arguing and I hated you the most, I never envisioned a life without you.
Yeah, and I think
And
I actually eventually said, "I'm glad you weren't gonna kill me.
no,
I'm
no.
glad you weren't
But
gonna
I was
be a
more
murderer."
thinking you leaving me or like divorce, not going straight to
Uh,
marital homicide.
yeah, well,
But
let's maybe we should have stopped a few minutes ago.
We should have. Well, anyways, we're almost close to the hour, so let's wrap it up. This was our story, and we'll talk to you pretty soon.
All right. Good night or
Bye.
goodbye, whatever time you're listening to this.